On March 3, 2007, a post would be made on a German language music forum called bestof80s.de. This forum was intended for discussing different genres of 80s music, but more importantly for our story, there is a subforum here for helping people find the artists behind unknown tracks, which is where our post resides. It was authored by someone named Anton, who was asking if anyone could recognize who made this 1-minute snippet of a song recorded in the early 80s. The song itself is a pretty decent post-punk or new wave track. It's well recorded, decently performed, well arranged, and the writing isn't too bad either. The verse is nothing special, but the way the chorus builds on it is genuinely good songwriting. The snippet in general was marked by a striking first line, "like the wind." You would think that with a good song like this, someone would be able to recognize it, and Anton would only have to wait 6 minutes for a reply, which came from someone who was mostly complaining that the link for the MP3 was flaky. But one phrase here would end up being strangely significant. Kennen tu es nicht. I don't know it. Anton wouldn't find an answer from anyone in that forum post, but what he did succeed in doing was starting the longest running and most infamous lost media search in internet history. Not every piece of lost media gets their own Wikipedia page. This one little piece of audio both intrigued and stumped people so much, it was labeled the most mysterious song on the internet. I've been wanting to cover this track for a long time, but the problem was that so many people have already made videos about it, what exactly was I going to contribute? At one point I thought maybe I'd have a unique viewpoint as a musician myself, but many other musicians have already covered this. There just wasn't anything I was going to be able to say here that hasn't already been said. But now things have changed. Because after 17 years, we finally know who made this song. Here's how it happened. The search for the origin of this song was enormous. The sheer amount of information and leads that have been chased after, false or not, is simply overwhelming. I mean, multiple people have made hour-long videos about this track, so I'm not gonna bore you with all the ideas and work that led nowhere. I'm just gonna give you the main quest of this story, so to speak. Anton would post a song on another website, spiritoftheradio.ca, a Canadian website that also had a section for IDing unknown songs, and also on Usenet, a bulletin board system similar in structure to a modern-day forum that actually predates the modern internet. These posts would lead to this snippet being passed around the internet and gaining some minor notoriety. Somebody would eventually upload it to the site What's That Song in 2009, which is the place where many of the most popular lost media songs got discovered. Not much would happen for a very long time. Lost media just wasn't really popular in the last decade. But at the tail end of it, things would begin picking up. In early 2019, the snippet of this song, which some people called Like the Wind, would start circulating on Reddit, and a subreddit dedicated to the track would be founded at the end of June. In July, fellow YouTuber Justin Wang would make a video about the song for his Tales of the Internet series, and that's when the ball really started rolling. A Redditor would post a full uncut version of the song that he had downloaded from the old Usenet posts that Anton had made all the way back in 2007. The following month, Anton would re-enter the search for the first time since making those forum posts 12 years prior. Anton was not actually Anton. In reality, he was Lydia, a German woman who had made these forum posts on behalf of her brother Darius. Darius had recorded the song from a German radio station called NDR onto a cassette tape back in 1984. The month after, in September, mainstream news publications would begin running stories about the song, which only ramped up the amount of interest and further solidified Like the Wind's status as the most mysterious song on the internet. But just while things seemed to be heating up, the momentum seemed to die a little. People were looking, but no solid leads were being found. In early 2020, people were able to identify the synthesizer used in Like the Wind as a Yamaha DX7. While this allowed us to maybe narrow down the dates in which the song could have been recorded, it didn't tell us much else, considering the DX7 is one of the most widely used synthesizers in history. After identifying the DX7 in the song, basically nothing happened. In 2021, Lydia found a slightly higher quality version of the song while looking through old cassette tapes. Some radio DJs played it in Germany to see if anyone would call in to identify it, but nobody did. People searched GEMA, Germany's musical copyright organization, but again, nothing was found. No matter what effort anyone put in, it didn't seem to lead to anything substantial. That was until just a couple months ago. In July 2024, a user in the subreddit would make a post about a show run by the NDR radio station called Whorefest. The idea was to highlight up-and-coming local bands. They would run this concert live and would also broadcast it over the radio. Could Like the Wind have been played by one of these local bands? This was a huge source of new information to look into. Suddenly, we had a list of local bands who we could be certain had their music, live or not, broadcast over NDR. People began looking into these groups. They not only kept track of which band played which years, but also the band members themselves and the different bands they played for. This was a huge effort, and it would ultimately lead to the source of the song being discovered. Today, on November 4th, 2024, user MarieJN1412 would post this on the subreddit.
TMS is found. The song is called Subways of Your Mind by Fex.
In the post, they tell us that 2 weeks ago, they had come across an old newspaper article while researching Whorefest bands. The article in question was about a band called Fex, who had apparently won a German talent contest in 1984. Their music was supposedly described as rock with new wave and pop influences. MarieJN had recognized one of the members of Fex from a Whorefest band called Fret. They managed to get in touch with that particular band member and ask them if they could send some of their songs they had recorded back in their local music days. This band member then sent over a bunch of songs, and one of them was titled Subways of Your Mind. And what do you know? It was a different recording of Like the Wind. MarieJN also provided 2 other songs by Fex, one called Heart in Danger and another called Talking Hands. This is pretty interesting because it provides a much wider context into this band's style. Listening to Like the Wind in isolation, you might think it was made by some post-punk band making music in a more poppy style, maybe like New Order. But these other 2 songs suggest the opposite, that Like the Wind was a more post-punk leaning song made by a pop or new wave band. Heart in Danger definitely sounds very synth-pop. It really reminds me of Simple Minds or maybe The Human League. If anyone here listens to satellite radio, this track would definitely fit right in on the first wave station. Talking Hands is actually quite different. This one really sounds like a 70s cocaine era David Bowie song. If you guys are familiar with the Low album by David Bowie, I could totally see this track fitting in there. But it's also got that new wave wonkiness that makes it sound a little newer. And then we've got Like the Wind, or I guess Subways of Your Mind, which is actually quite different from both of these songs. You can really tell this was a local band because the style is just kind of all over the place. Basically every band is guilty of this until they get serious and really own in the style they want to play. Which is something I've never been able to do well as a musician myself, so I don't really blame these guys. Now you might be questioning the legitimacy of these revelations, but everything's checking out here. These new tracks are too accurate sounding to be fabricated, and the Reddit user that discovered them is a trusted member of the Lost Media community. You can feel assured that this mystery has indeed been solved. In the next little while, you can expect more info about this to come out. In fact, the band is planning to reunite and do a full re-recording of the original song, so stay tuned for that. Alright guys, this was a bit of a quickie today. I'll see you all next week for a more regular video. Ciao!